Oh, Monday. What's the occasion? Good to see you. Yeah, this is one of these live streams I do from time to time. Not done it very recently, but we're doing it now. Just got off of Freightways. Bill Priestley, Kaylee Nix, great people, love the conversation. Talked about broker liability. We should talk about that. But right now, we're going to talk about something a little bit different. We're going to talk about Amazon. You see, the FTC has a problem with Amazon. Actually, they have several. And over the next, let's say 5-10 minutes, I have no idea, we're going to break it down, help you understand what's at stake. And we're going to use pictures from the pleadings, right? Pleadings that were actual original paperwork. That's important. As a lawyer, which is what I am, I like to touch the papers, like to feel them, read them, understand them, because it's important. I don't like reading off of screens. Honestly, I'm old-fashioned. I have a pen, I print off paper, and I make notes. Lots and lots of notes. So let's top the music. Let's make that stop. Yeah, there we go. Look, see, we can do that. Here's what I want to do. We're going to add to the stage. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh, information about Amazon. That's pretty cool. So Amazon, right? Big company, massive company. They have two big lawsuits against them right now. One lawsuit is about people being enrolled in Prime and not knowing it. And the fact that Amazon probably understands exactly why that happens. The other lawsuit we have is about sellers being forced to do certain activities that don't really work for them economically or otherwise. That lawsuit with the FTC against how sellers are being treated was joined by a whole bunch of states. A bunch of state governments said, hey, we think that you're probably wrong, Amazon, and we're going to add a bunch of claims against you. So this is just some facts about Amazon, right? This is 70% of their revenue comes from American consumers. This is a global company, but this is really about American consumers and how they're being treated and how people in the space are being treated. $25 billion a year come from Prime. 25 billion. That's billion with a B. That's a big B. That gives you a little understanding of what we're up against, right? So let's go through some pleadings. Let's take a look at some documents and see what all the fuss is about. So this is the checkout process. A basic consumer checkout enrollment experience proceeds as follows on both the desktop and the mobile devices. Consumers who are not Prime members, that's important, not Prime members, visit Amazon's website. They place items in their cart and then provide or confirm billing and address information. They then select a large orange continue button, which typically appears in the lower right corner of the page, and move through additional pages to proceed with the final purchase. Consumers either complete their order by purchasing the items in the cart or they abandon their cart. Cart abandonment is a big issue. But when you do this, you get enrolled in Prime. And that's a question that some people are not really excited about. Being enrolled in Prime without wanting to do that. So in the pleading here, this is again the case about the consumers. Amazon measured the Iliad flow success based on the number of Prime cancellations prevented. So they really do want to prevent you. And they redact the numbers. So in 2020, a blank amount of subscribers who clicked the end membership to enter the Iliad flow did not, in fact, cancel. So here's how this one lawsuit with the FTC and Amazon is playing out. FTC comes and says, hey, you are making people subscribe to something that they really don't want to or don't understand. And then when they try to cancel it, you make it difficult. And then Amazon has internal documentation. The Iliad flow is what we're talking about. That flow is essentially what we're looking at when it comes to when people can escape the platform. The goal for these platforms is to make it so people don't leave. That's the whole point. If you can't make people stay, then you don't get the money. And that's what this is really all about, at least as it relates to this this ability to enroll and get out of the subscription matrix. But what I want to talk about now is really about what happens to the sellers in Amazon's platform. So this is the case we've seen all over the news, the FTC with a bunch of state governments suing Amazon. Let's go ahead and put this on the screen. We just got to hit the button here. There it goes. So this is what we're talking about. This is, yeah, exactly. So if you're a seller on Amazon, you're a seller, you're getting your money through working with Amazon. And it has been reported that about 50% of all the revenue you take in goes back to Amazon. Amazon recognizes that sellers, it's difficult to be profitable with Amazon because of the way they operate. There's really two pathways that Amazon's being challenged by the FTC in this litigation. The first one that's important to understand is if you're going to list your stuff with Amazon and you want fulfillment by Amazon, that means that you have to give into them making all the transportation. If you're doing Prime, like next day or whatever delivery, you must do fulfillment by Amazon. You must, as a seller, you must work with their fulfillment team. Now, if you want to be listed up high in the results when you go to Amazon, you got to pay for that. There's advertising costs. And what everyone has kind of realized with Amazon is if you're not in that like easy to find front page, you're not going to sell anything. And this is what the controversy around the FTC is really focused on. They're focused on, if you're a seller, what are your rights working with Amazon? What other things must you buy? What other services must you subscribe to in order to be an effective seller? And that's the crux of the first component of the FTC's lawsuit, which is you are making it very difficult for sellers to opt out of Prime. You are making it so that sellers, in order for them to be effective in your platform, they have to do this. The other thing, which is a little bit more nefarious, which I think is really fascinating, is how Amazon is crawling you, the seller. So they have algorithms, and these algorithms are going out there into the wild, and they're seeing where you are listing your products or your services. If you're listing them for a cheaper price at another platform, they will move you down the list. They will come and say, look, you've made an agreement with us. You have to be the best price on Amazon. If you list somewhere else and you don't tell anybody, and we find out because we're crawling the web, you are going to face some challenges. So I've been reading this stuff this morning, and my goodness, it's interesting. So let's kind of go through some of the things that I found interesting so far. And maybe you can enjoy me reading through legal documents, because this is what I do, man. This is so much fun. So we're going to start. So overcharging customers, Amazon is degrading its services they provide. So Amazon's online storefront prioritizes relevant organic search results. Now, there's a lot of redactions here. Redactions are really interesting. So this means like I, a lawyer, can't actually see what's being said here. What they've done is they've put it so that only certain things are visible. And this is what makes it kind of interesting. So when sellers are advertising through Amazon, they're paying Amazon to list their stuff higher up. And this is one of the ways Amazon makes money. So you get to use their storefront, you get to use their advertising services, and you get to use their transportation business. All of these things are ways that they take a little bit more from you, the seller. And so ultimately you are losing or you're giving up about half your revenue to Amazon to do all of these things. Now, these are really interesting. The buy box. So if you are a software developer or a user experience person or UI designer, this lawsuit, hundreds of pages, is all about UI. It's all about the user interface. What buttons do you see? Where do you see them? How they can stop you in different places. And Amazon internally admits that these tactics are used to make sellers in constant fear. You need to be aware that what they're doing is, if you list your product at a cheaper place or another place for cheaper than you just on Amazon, they will banish you from the buy box. And if you're out of the buy box, you're not selling anything. This is what makes it so interesting. Now, this again, like gives you an idea of like what they're selling of their own versus what they're selling with other people. And about 60% of Amazon's total sales come from these third-party sellers. So you're a third-party seller. You're like, I want to list on Amazon. Okay, you're going to sign these contracts. All these contracts are going to be here. And they're going to tell you, essentially, you can get other services with us. And if you don't get these services, you're probably not going to sell anything. And so they've added these algorithms that deter other people from offering lower prices. This whole thing, all this redaction is exactly what is at issue, which is how Amazon is figuring out what you're selling, where you're selling it, and how much you're selling it for. And if you're selling it at another place for cheaper than Amazon, they will punish you. They're going to put their thumb on the scale. They'll move you out of the buy box. They'll make it so you're having a difficult time. That's what makes it so darn interesting. Now, that's beside the anti-discounting thing. Amazon goes another step further. And we talk about Project Nessie. We're at 10 minutes, and now we're talking about Project Nessie. I have no idea what Project Nessie is. In fact, I don't think anybody outside of Amazon or maybe the courts and maybe the plaintiff's attorneys, the FTC and everything, know what Project Nessie is. Amazon deemed this thing Project Nessie, and there's a redaction. It has generated more than blank redaction in excess profit for Amazon. And then another big redaction. they talk about this in a little bit. We'll get there. But this is another really interesting component of this. It's about 70% of all online sales are coming through Amazon. That's bonkers. And Prime eligibility is critical for sellers in part because of the enormous reach of their subscription program, which we talked about before. Sometimes you subscribe and you don't know. But according to public reports, they want to draw a moat around Amazon's best customers, and Prime blankets a percentage of the United States. We don't actually know how much of the U.S. is captured by Amazon, but it does have a number of the zip codes. They know exactly who they sell to. They know everything about who they sell to. And nearly blank percent of all purchases in Amazon are made in the add to cart and the buy now buttons. So that percentage is more than one and less than 100. So we know that at least a portion of these sales happen when it's in the add to cart or the buy now button. If those are not there in the buy box, are not there, you are probably not selling your stuff. So here's what they do. They make you use Prime fulfillment to qualify for the actual transportation. You can still use UPS or FedEx or USPS, but to get that Prime delivery, you have to use fulfillment by Amazon. And if you decide to list your stuff in other places around the internet, and they find out, they can take you away from the add to cart or buy now button. This is their moat. This is a feature, not a bug. And we're going to look at the numbers again. This is one of the really interesting things that we do in the business of e-commerce is we evaluate Amazon versus eBay and Walmart and Target. This is estimates by Bank of America's Global Research. And here's what they're saying. Right now, about 77% of the e-commerce is belonging to Amazon from these four platforms, eBay, Walmart, and Target. They have a big part of the business for a lot of the reasons that we talked about so far. Now, I think we'll get to some questions. I'm going to pull up another thing in a second. So let me just click this. I see there's a couple questions here, comments. I don't know. Oh, Think Freight. Yeah, dude, I love Think Freight. We love Think Freight. This is a great Thomas Weston. Good. I like him. I think that's it. I think that's his name. I don't know. I think it is. You should follow Think Freight. Absolutely. Now, let me pull up the next thing I want to show you because this is the one I think is probably the most compelling. Let's see. We're going to scroll through this one. Not that one. Not that one. Here it is. So I want to spend a little bit more time talking about Project Nessie. Like, I really want to talk about Project Nessie. Dave, I love trailers. We all love trailers. The trailers are the best things out there. Add to stage. There you go. What in the world are we looking at? What is this? I honestly don't know. I can't make anything of it, heads or tails. This is a massive redacted document that has to do with a thing called Project Nessie. Project Nessie is probably what this lawsuit is all about with the FTC and the different states that are involved. They don't understand exactly what's happening, but they do know that sellers are being punished, or at least they're having bad outcomes as a result of these things. And this is what we're talking about. This is the real interesting thing. Hold on, I'm going to pull this up and show you guys something else. So as you're looking at this document, what you should be considering is, what do they know about us? And I was wrong on the name. Think Freight, Thomas Verdeen. Weirden? I don't know. I love you, Thomas. I know you're out there. Think Freight's amazing. What in the world is happening with this? Here's what's happening. Someone at Amazon has leaked information to the FTC. And the FTC has been investigating Amazon for 4 years. They know Amazon, and they know what the patterns and practices are. And this platform that they've done, this Project Nessie, is a way to incentivize or coerce sellers to do certain activities. And that's precisely what we're looking at here. These redactions. This is what's happening. The fact that this is redacted means Amazon's made a motion and asked to make sure this is not made public. And we will find it eventually. It'll be there at some point. It's not there now. We'll learn about it. But this is why this case is so utterly fascinating. So let's go back to the beginning. There are two cases. The FTC has sued Amazon in two cases. The first case has to do with enrollment. And they use a really interesting phrase around enrollment. And I'm going to pull that up because I think it just shows what is at stake here. Why are we in this position? Let's see, back to the top. All right, here we go. This is a fun one to look at. Non-consensual enrollment. Non-consensual enrollment. That means you didn't consent and you've enrolled, but it also means that you were probably tricked. The non-consensual enrollment problem is well known within Amazon. The company's internal documents are littered with references to, quote, accidental, end quote, signups. In early 2019, for example, Amazon survey showed redaction of consumers stated their reason for canceling Prime was that they never intended to enroll in the first place. And in September of 2020, Amazon estimated that redacted Prime subscribers were, quote, unaware, end quote, they had subscribed to Prime. This is the very first part of this lawsuit. This case was filed back in June. It's still pending, but this is the first one. That is essentially people being subscribed into a service or product they don't understand. And that case has a ton of insights around user interface and user experience. The other case that is in the news very much right now is about what they do to sellers. Amazon has a flywheel, and the flywheel is what they talk about all the time. But how the flywheel operates is essentially this. You list as a seller on Amazon. In order for you to get actual people to buy your stuff, you have to pay for more things within Amazon. Probably you have to pay for Prime so that you can have your stuff delivered by Amazon's fulfillment arm. That is very, very important. That is one of the things you have to do. You also have to advertise. You have to pay Amazon to put your things up higher. That is the two initial paths of how the FTC is looking at what Amazon's doing. The other path that Amazon does is they spin around, they follow the seller all across the internet, every place they have, whether it's an e-commerce storefront or they're on eBay or somewhere else, and they are finding out and asking one very important question. Are you selling the thing on our platform more than you're selling it for on other platforms? Are you giving a discount or incentivizing people to leave our platform? If you're doing that, we are going to take you out of the buy box. We're going to take you out of the add to cart box. And now you are stuck. You will not sell through Amazon. So this is the fundamental question that we're looking at with the FTC and Amazon. Now, there are joined by many states. There are over 20 counts. That's both state counts, FTC counts against Amazon saying, dude, you're making it really hard for us. You're making it anti-competitive. Your tendencies are impacting the consumers in a really negative way. People are paying too much for what they have. And this is essentially what these two FTC cases are about. One, about enrollment. Two, about how they make the sellers have to pay 50% of everything they take in to Amazon. There you go. That's everything. And think for, yes, weirded. I'm sorry, Thomas. I'm sorry. I'm just not great at memory when it comes to people's names. But thank you for joining us. As always, I like to do this stuff. It's fun. There's way more that we're going to see over the next few weeks and months on this. But the reality is Amazon is a juggernaut. They have tentacles and things that we can't even imagine. And because of the nature of their penetration within the market, it really does make it difficult for some people to compete. And yeah, I'm going to show one last slide. We'll pull this up here. Give me a second. Here we go. Click it. Add to stage. Look at that. This is the last slide I want to show you. This is Amazon has a durable and dominant share of the online marketplace services. According to commercially available data sources, and as illustrated in figure 15 below, Amazon has maintained a market share of greater than 66% of marketplace sales, as measured by GMV across all tracked marketplaces since at least 2018. And that share grew to more than 71% by 2022. This is big. This is massive. Amazon is one of the most successful companies that has ever existed, and they are facing what could look like an existential threat. I cannot wait to continue watching and reading these things and posting about them because it's interesting. And I hope you have a great Monday, great rest of your day. And as always, read what you sign. Don't sign non-competition agreements. That's a good place to end. We'll just put the music on. There it goes. Hey, thanks for joining us. If you find these things interesting or insightful or useful, follow me on LinkedIn, follow me on Twitter, follow me wherever you want to. I post regularly about anything, but today we're talking about FTC and Amazon. Tomorrow, maybe we talk about F4A preemption. We ought to talk about F4A preemption. Have a great day. Oh, I got to hit the button.